Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. You've had a good week. It's time for the weekend, Friday night live stream. I want to introduce everyone to tonight's guest, our first guest, Conscience Abe from Patriot Soapbox. What's up, Abe? How are you, buddy?
Man, I'm thrilled to be here, man. This is going to be a fun night. I'm just looking forward to kind of hanging out with you guys, and we'll go through some news that's going to be breaking here soon. Maybe a few Q posts. I think we're all kind of missing some Q posts, right? And then we have a few other guests hopping in to join us too. So it's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Beautiful. I am too. I know the audience is as well. You guys go ahead and get your locations loaded up in the chat, and we'll go ahead and say hi to everybody. I see already my good friend Roy Davis, Captain Roy Davis from St. Pete, Florida. Good evening, buddy. I saw my mom was there. Oh, look at TRUReporting's here. Special guest TRUReporting showing up later in the second hour. We've also got Patriots here from Quite Frankly's chat. Herkimer, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. I see North Carolina. I see Dayton Beach. I saw Michigan earlier. Let's see. I see a Wisconsin. We got people saying hello to Abe. Abe, I hope that you're going to have the chat up on your end because I'm sure that we're going to be getting questions for you. Oh, Patriots from Michigan, from Texas. Where else, you guys? Left Angeles. Tom Manley says 8chan's coming back soon. I sure hope so. Let's see. Minnesota in the house. Michigan's thumb. South Carolina, Indiana, Alabama, Illinois, Texas, Oklahoma, Buffalo, New York, Maine, Utah, USA, Oklahoma City, Greenville, Michigan, British Columbia, Canada. We got Australia. Love in Texas. Thank you for that super chat already. Where we go one, we go all. And there are now, everybody is putting their location into the chat, and it's going too fast, you guys. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, no matter where you're from, what part of the world you're in. Thank you very much for being here. Let's see. I am going to throw, well, you know what? Yes, enable slow mode. Sorry about that. We're gonna do 30 seconds, guys. That should be just enough so that everybody gets a chance to pipe in, and for Abe and I to go ahead and follow along. So Abe, I know you from Patriot Soapbox, man, but I figured that it would be cool for the audience to maybe learn a little bit more about you. Where are you, and what's your passion, man? How did you get into this?
Oh man, it's a journey like many others. I think a lot of people kind of found us together in the same way. I grew up in Michigan, born in Detroit General, moved to the suburbs of Illinois in Naperville, lived there, graduated high school there, and then went to NIU for a year. What's up, Methods? And
what's up, brother?
And had a whole lot of fun at NIU. For a year, and I met my wife there.
Too much fun?
Yeah, and they said don't come back. So yeah, that was fun. But I also learned a lot in college in the year that I was there because one person telling you that this is all based on theory. You go to the next class and this is all based on theory. And then I went to math class and this said it's all based on theory. And I came here to learn the best knowledge available, and you guys are not teaching me that.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to be a Marine since I was a kid. I had a whole family full of service people in the service, and I had someone who grew up who mentored me while my dad worked all the time. Worked a lot. I hung out a lot with him, partially because he had a beautiful daughter. But don't tell my wife that.
Can't fault you there.
Yeah, but he was a former Marine Special Forces guy. I helped him build a fence. Just kind of hung out with him. Hung out in his garage, and basically I decided to join the Marine Corps because I had always wanted to be a Marine as a kid. So
it's an honorable thing.
Yeah, joined the Marine Corps in '93. I aced the ASVAB. They said they handed me the Marine Corps book and said pick a job, and so I tried to do something that I could get out and use that as a training for a future career because I figured at that point I knew I had one kid on the way. We were probably going to continue, so I did long range search radar repairman, and I missed it every day. Actually, I wish I would have stayed in. But you make decisions and you live with them. So 5 years in the Marine Corps, and then I got out and went into society and went, what's going on out here?
Just real quick, how old were you when you joined the Marines?
Let's see. I would have been 20.
20. And then how old were you when you got out?
I was about 25. I was in for 5 years.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
And I was a Hollywood Marine. Yeah, I'm a Marine Corps Staff Sergeant. Which means I went to boot camp in San Diego, and actually my son is in San Diego right now.
Oh, sweet.
We'll get to that in a moment if we get time. But to finish the story as quick as I can, I ended up joining, working in wireless. Became a wireless engineer.
Nice.
Did upgrades on cell sites, and then worked my way up into project management PMO, where I worked at the headquarters AT&T office in Chicago. And learned a lot about how corporations work as far as shadow companies and things like that and worse. And then I found out at one point I actually whistle blew the fact that they had installed sniffers in all of the switch locations around the country at Sprint, and that was just they were doing it to all the carriers, and that was the initial spying operation in about 2006 or so, or around 2005, somewhere around that time frame, when they first started spying on all citizens. And so I whistle blew that because I realized that was a violation of the Fourth Amendment rights, and yet it's still going on. So that kind of really was my first wake up to society, was first of all looking around and seeing what the heck is going on in society, seeing how corporations work, and then also that spy operation where I knew the NSA had been basically listening to every single conversation, every single text. It's at the base of the switch, so anything that comes from a tower to the switch before it goes anywhere gets sniffed and goes off to a database somewhere. So
real
that was
quick,
kind of my first wake-up point.
Just real quick, who did you blow the whistle to? Did you go to the press, or did you speak to another government agency?
Well, that's kind of I'll kind of leave that alone a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, the best thing that I did, I think, was blow it up on social media all over the place. So well placed information in certain threads. I'll leave it at that much as far as it's not. I wasn't an official whistleblower where I went to somewhere. So if that's what you're asking, yeah, it wasn't like that. But it was more about getting the word out to people to make them aware of what was happening.
Okay, well, whoever you told, that's very honorable. It's interesting. I have a background in wireless, at least for a period of time in my life too. So, I thought about that stuff personally. When I started in the industry, it was after everything had come out. But after that horrible event in September of 2001, when everything changed, it was like everybody was essentially, asking to be spied on, because we were made to think that this danger was, clear and present, ever there. And if we didn't allow for our rights to be violated and for the Patriot Act to be passed, then somehow we were un-American. Little did we know, how far it went, how deep the betrayal was by, our own government.
Absolutely. And it's, it was something that I became a big time activist against the Patriot Act. And, you realize how little power you have. At some point I had worked for Governor Rauner when he was running for office in Illinois. I had, door knocked for him. And when you talk to people on the streets, because I thought he was actually a good person at the time. Then I realized that he's really not. But you get backstabbed no matter what you do, right?
Yeah.
But when you talk to people on the streets, it was a really good learning experience, because you realize that probably at least 6 out of 10, man, were completely disenfranchised, didn't want to talk politics, much less were even going to plan on voting. So that experience of door knocking and talking to people and getting the door slammed in your face by every single house that was a teacher, it gives you an awakening on another level too, of kind of like, there really is something not quite right going around in society, where everyone is kind of turning their backs to our civic duty,
Right. I did a lot of door knocking myself. I've worked on political campaigns as well, but I actually ran for city council in my hometown many years ago, almost 20 years ago now. So there's a different perspective, when you literally go and try to speak to every single constituent in your district, whether it's for a state, local, or federal election. But you really get an idea of how little people know. I mean, like there's not that many people when you get down to it who are particularly well informed, and I think that it's a symptom of the life that we're forced to lead. I mean, most people are working from sun up to sundown, and it's a necessity. We have to break our backs on a daily basis just in order to survive or even scrape by. So I think that the work that you're doing is even more important as a result of that, because one of the great things that I love about YouTube is that, when during the course of my workday, like not that I'm in a position to do it now, but previously in past jobs, I've just been able to consume all of this information, from people like you, people like Thomas, TRUReporting right there. And, so that's why I love what it is we get to do every day. How did you decide that you wanted to start making YouTube videos?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. A while back, during, let's see, when was this? This was probably the year before President Trump started running. I used to do guest spots on something called Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, yeah.
With a couple of people. And we had kind of our own initial digital warrior base. There was like 200 of us that would that kind of just went into threads, well-placed threads, and debated people. And if we didn't have the expertise on a topic, we all kind of knew who we could pull in. So we all kind of worked to get together, and we would find influential people from the left that were pushing narratives, and we would just hop in together and kind of fight it out, and show people what the truth is. But then that kind of moved into Blog Talk Radio and kind of digging around with that. And then actually, amazingly enough, someone who I've lost a lot of respect for in the Matrix, I saw some of the stuff that he was putting on his Twitter back in early or late 2018. Right, is that when Q first started dropping? It's all
late 2017. It would have been October. Yeah.
2017. So around that point, I started seeing some of the stuff he was putting on Twitter, and it would just catch my eye. Like, where's he getting this stuff from? So then I just started searching around for YouTube for channels, and I fell into Patriot Soapbox. Those guys over there, they were doing 16-hour days trying to stay on air to get news out to people. They felt like they had a civic duty to get the information out to people, and I really gained a lot of respect for the people over there that all the time they put in to try to disseminate what Q was telling us, and
right.
and it was really amazing. And so I at some point I just became I don't want to say addicted. I want to say it became like a something I felt a calling to. And a lot of us over there felt we've all talked about this before over at Patriot Soapbox. We all kind of feel a calling to do what we're doing. And I think it's not just at Soapbox. I think you probably feel that too, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel that God put me in this position, so that I would be able to, we're living our passion. That's what's important about it. It's what we really care about. We all have the burning desire to get this information out there and to help other people understand it, just like when we were these people that are now watching. I was looking for people who could tell me things. I had certain things that I wanted to know about, and then at a certain point I was like, what, I feel that I am informed enough to give this a shot myself. And and so here we both are, with our own shows. So we're living our passion, and yes, God definitely put us where we needed to be.
It definitely does feel like that. There was times in my life where I kind of fell apart from God and from my faith. I've never really been a religious person partially because I had to go to religious schools as a kid and to Sunday schools, and I just found too much narratives they were pushing in those things. And I think for a lot of people, they've gone through that journey of kind of losing their way in the faith. I've always had faith deep inside of me, and I've always prayed internally. And really, a lot of people didn't know that I was a very religious person inside of me, just not outwardly. And so I don't know what it ended up being, man. Was I told the guys over there, I was like, look, I want to help. I want to help in any way I can. I want whatever I can do. And then at some point, they just said, they threw me in front of a mic, and I just ran with it, man. I just started being me. I just started. I kind of did a little bit of an in-your-face style. That's why my show was called Uncensored. They partnered me with Indie News, and Indie News and I at first we had to find our way because we're very different people. He's a very different personality than me, but in some way it really meshes well together on the Common Sense show. And then his schedule had been at a point where he could only do 3 days a week, 1 week, and 2 days the next. And then we would have people that couldn't do their shows, and I would just fill in every chance that I could because I'm so passionate about getting the actual truth out there, not the truth that I see it. I'm talking about the one objective truth that is out there that we all should be looking to find. And to be honest, there, Red Pill, I'm not really red pilled. I'm not. I mean, I'm an ultimate skeptic on everything. It drives people nuts on the channel sometimes because I'm always the first person to go, "Come on, dude, really? You can't be. You're kidding me, right?" And so
trust but verify.
Yeah, I mean, I am the ultimate skeptic, and so it does rub people the wrong way, but that also keeps my rabbit ears up to see the BS when I see it. When I see some certain people posting garbage. I feel the need that our community should police ourselves. We should work together. And I think what you're doing here, Red Pill, is very respectable because what you're doing is trying to bring, I'm a nobody really. I have maybe a few thousand people that watch, and I have had a chance to do some amazing interviews, but it's the people that make those interviews, not necessarily me. I'm very aware of that. But those of us that want to do this, I think you do an amazing job at trying to bring the community together. And that's something that I've always wanted to see done. And I've mentioned it on several servers and stuff that you've probably seen. We need to focus on, those of us that are here for the right reason and let everyone else, the information that they're putting out there, let that define them.
Yeah, I think that in the end, the truth will out. I mean, everything will be revealed in time, and somebody asked, why don't you guys like Matrix and Shady? I just want to go on the record. I don't have a problem with anybody. Abe may have his personal opinion, and this is America. He has the absolute right to decide how he feels about anybody. But one of the things that I do on my show is I don't, I don't disparage anybody. I've got certain people that I will go ahead and that I'm good friends with, that I will go ahead and reference their work and stuff, but, when it comes down to it, I will never tell anybody who to follow, I will never tell anybody, to trust me implicitly, like if I say something and you think, BS alert, then call me out on it by all means, because I'm just a man, I mean, I'm not perfect. I'm in the same boat as everybody else here. We're trying to figure this all out together. And I just happen to be in the position, to have this show on YouTube, thank God, I'm blessed every day, so my point is that I don't want people to focus on, on stuff like that, like you're saying, it's all about people coming together for me, let's figure it out, because I think that if somebody is, saying things that, maybe you don't agree with, there's absolutely nothing wrong with asking them to explain it or like asking for a debate. That's one of the things that's wrong in America today. People have lost the ability to have an intelligent debate because we have been pitted against each other for so long, and you've got like one official train of thought, one narrative that you're allowed to talk about. And if you go outside of that, that's when you get attacked. And on the right, we are not immune from that. I think that many of us are still breaking out of that programming, because we were inside that kind of construct for so long, and so now we are, perhaps open to new ideas. You are learning new things about how the world works. It can be traumatic for a lot of people, the act of red pilling, people can find it very difficult to exist, I mean, like, you talked about losing touch with your spirituality, and this is another point I wanted to make, the difference between faith and spirituality and religion, because when you're raised in a strict religious upbringing, as I was, as you were, you find yourself kind of, you see those things as the same thing. thing. But in my experience growing up and, and learning and growing as a person, I learned that those two things are not mutually exclusive. They are completely different things. Religion is the dogma. It is what you are taught and what you are told to believe. Okay? My faith, my spirituality, my personal relationship with God exists outside of whatever religion I was raised in. I wouldn't mind asking you about that, Abe. I went to Catholic school and I went to Catholic church, so I went to, we went to church every day, Monday through Friday, and then we went to church on Sundays, and that was with my family. During the week, it was with the school. But, I wanted to be a priest at one point, I looked up, Jesus to me was what you wanted to emulate. This was in as close to a perfect being as you can get, and even Jesus got angry and tossed the tables in the temple, told the money changers to get the F out, but then, I remember another story. He got so angry that he killed a tree, he just like stared at it and it died. But he felt bad, as humans, we sin, we make mistakes. And what's important is that we realize it and that we ask for forgiveness. This is another thing with society today. We got a lot of sociopaths and narcissists, and they have just like risen up. Pretty much everybody who's in power is a sociopathic narcissist. Donald Trump, he's maybe got a little bit of narcissism, but he's not a sociopath. He cares about people. He wants to save people in America. So
well said.
Yeah,
so
thank
well
you.
Said, and it's an important thing to go back a little bit about the programming.
Yeah,
I see that all of the time, man, with people that are in chat, and my goal when I have people on that I interview or with the news that I bring is, number one, I try to look for stuff that no one else is talking about that's very important, and that's getting harder and harder to do because there's so many great people out there doing amazing work. But secondarily, I try to challenge personal biases, and boy, it really gets contentious in chat when you challenge what they believe to be true. And it turns into this binary thinking of if this, then that. And the loss of respectful debate, the loss of the ability to disagree with somebody and not call them a shill, the loss of that kind of just respect for their own perspective that you might not understand is an amazing thing, and it's really a purposeful effect done by our government in order to control people. There's no doubt in my mind that the Mockingbird media and the way that this all works is created from the government, is created from high level powers, maybe not just in the government, but nonetheless they use the government against us. And that has been happening for so long that so many people don't know what to think when they see someone like President Trump come in and kind of, in a bull in a china shop style. Everyone kind of loses their perspective, and that thought process of going back to respectful debate and not going into binary thinking because of what you believe to be true, I think is such a hard pill to break in people, and that's even with a lot of people that I respect out there, and I see it happening to myself as well. I'll be truthful about that, about faith and stuff, man. It's really a very personal thing for me. It's always been something that has been within inside of me. I mean, when I was in the Marine Corps, I spent a whole lot of time going to the chapel, going to our spiritual leaders, because you really do need that guidance to keep you grounded. And it was very pervasive when I was in the Corps, and it still is today. And my son goes to the chapel every Sunday and prays with people because it gets you a chance to kind of get away from it all a little bit, right? And so, but you're right. It is a very internal, personal thing for a lot of people, especially those like yourself and I who went to Catholic schools and went to Catholic churches, and I have a ton of respect for people who really understand and have studied religions and are knowledgeable of religions. But in the same way that people that turns people into a binary thinker on other topics and politics and stuff, it can also do that with very religious people who are very knowledgeable on religion itself. They look at things in a very binary thought process. It's either this or this, and that thing holds us back as a society. It holds us back from uniting, because people then automatically look at someone who doesn't agree in their way of thinking as wrong, and doing it the wrong way. And it's that whole way of interacting with society. We've lost that as a society. We've devolved as a society, right? In that way that we can't have respectful disagreement on a topic without actually completely losing your minds about something. And so it's something I consciously keep with me on my show all the time. And I try to be mindful of that, but still challenge people. And it's very hard to do.
Yeah, it definitely has become much more difficult. But I mean, I think it's a great thing to try to do, because people get locked into their beliefs and believe that because it's what they believe, that it is the objective truth. It's like climate change. Okay, you've got people in Hollywood, you've got the Democrats, they believe that climate change is real. And when we're talking about this, we're not talking about the natural temperature evolution of the earth and the way that, cycles come and go, and solar minimums and maximums creating that. They are talking solely about man creating changes in the climate. Now, the science is not there, but they completely ignore it, because they believe that climate change is a man-made problem. And it's the same way with just about anything else. I have my beliefs, but if someone comes to me and challenges that with some evidence that will cause me to stop and think about it, then I will go ahead and keep an open mind on that. And I do that with everything. And, I'm not a biblical scholar like my friend God's Guy. My friend God's Guy, he's a minister. He is a biblical scholar. He knows about everything that you could talk about from the Bible in terms of verses and chapters, absolutely everything. In college, I studied a lot of different religions. And like an example of doing something right, doing it wrong, you got Buddhism. Buddhism isn't so much a religion as it is a life philosophy. And so, I look at something like Buddhism, and I think that it is you can have Christianity and Buddhism existing at the same time, because Buddhism teaches you how to act in a moral way. Christianity teaches you to worship God and Jesus. And so I think that those are totally compatible points of view. But when you've got other things, like I saw people mentioning it in the chat, a particular religion from the East that has really a lot of conflicting views, we'll call it Islam. But, there's so many different teachings there. There are different schools of thought there, just in the same way that there are different schools of thought within Christianity. And that's another thing that I think is very important to know, because you have sects. I would say that Jim Jones and the people in Jonestown, they were considering themselves Christians, but they would not be representative of the rest of Christianity. And I think the same is true for other religions and other sects, and it's very, very important to keep that in mind.
This battle that we are in, when you realize that the enemies of America, the enemies of humanity, really, it's not just America, it's really the enemies of humanity. They really do believe in evil, in the devil. They really do believe in the satanic cult. They take it to the fullest level of the cult. If we don't accept that as people and allow other people to understand that and find ways to allow them to understand it, because a lot of people refuse just to believe the basis of that concept.
Yeah.
If we don't work very hard to red pill people just on that level, we're going to have a hard time getting through to them about what's really been happening in our society and around the world for so long, that all of us have just kind of gone through blissful ignorance, because it's better to go through life just kind of being just, I don't want to know,
It's probably the hardest pill to swallow, and it doesn't help that everyone involved in that satanic cult are involved in major positions of power. So we've got the media, we've got government, we've got big business, all of them all of them have members of this satanic cult at the heads of their tables. So it's not just that, it's easier for us to not think about it because it is so horrific. It's just about the worst thing that you can possibly imagine. It is the fact that it has been covered up so completely. We have been taught to dismiss it. Do you remember the satanic panic of the 1980s?
Yep.
McMartin preschool, all of those things. The children that were abused in that situation, they had stories that had so many things in common. Later on, after the cases were thrown out, they found like tunnels underneath these buildings, and they determined that basically it was real. And I can't imagine a world where all of these children come up with the exact same thing. They just the people abusing them just happen to be wearing black cloaks. They stand in a circle. They sacrifice a child in the center. All of these things are in conflict, or not in conflict, but in common with each other. These kids all have the same things. And then it was going on at all of these other preschools throughout the country. They have set up kiddie farms all over the place, and they've taught us to dismiss the fact that they exist. So this is the most important aspect of this awakening, in my opinion. People have to know that this is real. Just as there are good people in the world, there are people who are equally as evil and disgusting. The most horrific things that you can possibly imagine are going on around us all the time. Real quick, Abe, I just need to do a couple of quick thank yous. Love in Texas, thank you for that super chat. Jen Blossom, she says, prayers for Corticon. Yes, everyone, please keep praying for Corticon. I saw on Twitter today, he just got the staples or sutures, something removed from his face where they had sewed him up. Hey, my buddy TikTok is here. TikTok, I watched your interview with God's Guy today, buddy. That was really great. That was powerful. I'm going to share it on my YouTube channel so people can watch it. Herkimer Fuddwaddle says, hey, Conscience Abe, I was one of the legislative leaders for ABATE during the helmet law wars in 1990 to 1995. We won, beat medical insurance lobbies. And then Kelly Dunn says 10 Army copters flew out of Fort Knox. No lights on. What do you think about that, Abe?
I was reading chat. What's up, Jafine? What's up, brother?
I said 10 Army copters flew out of Fort Knox. No lights on. Is that normal?
There's a lot of training that happens, and so I'm always very skeptical of the choppers. However, there is also a lot of operators active very often. It's something that has always intrigued me. The plane fags out there, I love those guys because that stuff is really it gets the kind of the mind going about what could be happening out there. The thing is we'll never know. We'll never know what's happened. So for me, I should have been born in the show me state. I say that all the time on my show that I, show me what's happening, things like that. Link it to something more than that because it's always very intriguing to me, and it would not surprise me that there are operators active on a Friday night. And so it would not surprise me one bit, but also there's always a lot of training going on. So yes, God bless you, Corticon. Thank you for saying that, Connie. Agreed.
He's doing really good. I talked to him on Twitter and considering what he went through, he's on the mend like rather quickly. Abe, if you don't mind, Ringo Stark was just asking a question in the chat, and I just want to answer it because it involves Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower who was on the program last week. In his statement that he released on my channel, he said that he had checked with some influencers. People are getting all hung up on it. He was talking to some other YouTube channels that he just happened to be doing an interview with that day. And that was Corey's Digs, Sharp Edge, and Speaker 2018. It just happened to be who he was speaking with that day. And, I know all those people. They're very honorable people. I think that the information Zach's putting out is totally real in reading the documents. That's the most important thing to me, and I think that that's the most important thing to the people that have interviewed him. That's why we're getting the information out there. Real quick, I do see a comment from Mitch Mitch Eichel? Mythical. I just got it. A little slow in the uptake. I would love to see you guys make amends. Shady Matrix, Shady and Matrix, you, Red Pill 78, X22, True Reporting, EOW, Kate Awakening, George Webb, Amazing Polly, SGT, and we know we're all on the same team. Love you are the news now. Yes, I mean, like I said, I have no problem with Matrix and Shady. I've never said a bad thing about them ever in the course of my career, either here or on Twitter, and I wish them all the best. They're making shows every day, so good stuff.
Yeah, I wish them the best too. I wish that they wouldn't put the Q movement in the light that they have exposed it to with regards to some of the cults and things that they've done. I wish they would be more careful with the information that they are putting out there, and that's what I have called out. It's amazing to see his group of trolls go after people who question some of their information, which makes me question what they are putting out there even more. But I don't have anything against them personally, because what we are trying to do as a group, each one of us has our own value in the movement, our own value in red pilling people, and the value that they bring to it is they have their niche.
Yeah.
And I just wish that they would be less. It's almost cynical in the way that they. The way that they decode Q posts to make it all think about them and more about the bigger picture, and that's what bothers me about it. To be more frank about it, it's not about them specifically, personally. It's about the information they put out there, and I've always been very careful to say that.
Yeah. Now, real quick, I'm just talking to Thomas because he's going to be joining us later on in the program. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think it should be totally acceptable for people to be able to have that debate with each other about the things that they believe, especially if people are representing something as large as this. I just think that ought to be something that we're able to do here in America, and I feel like we used to be able to do that, but because of this dichotomy of the two-party bicameral system, we've been split into teams, and it's always us or them. Why are we not able to talk to each other? Somebody says something and somebody instantly jumps on the defensive because we've been taught to do that. And it's too bad. This is an open call for people to try to break out of that mindset. Break out of the mind. Terry Fell says nice clouds. Thank you, Terry. I don't know how it looks with the background. Oh, and did you see my show the other day, Abe? The first time I used this background, I got these new lights, and so my forehead was shining so much that the background was coming through on the forehead, and people were like, Red Pill looks like he's got horns. What's going on?
Red Pill has entered the Matrix for real.
That's right. I'm like... Sometimes it'll show up on my hands. I think I was playing with the settings today. Guys, I appreciate everybody bearing with us here. This is a brand new setup. Obviously, I haven't been doing this like this for very long, less than a week. And I'm trying to have fun. I want to play with this stuff. I love looking at people like Abe and seeing the backgrounds. I think there's so much cool stuff that you can do, and I just want to make it as fun as possible. So Abe, tell us about your show. Tell us specifically where people can, when they can listen to you and how.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And again, thank you for doing all you've done through the movement. I really have a lot of respect for you.
Thank you.
Because you go out of your way, number one, to make sure we all question each other in the narrative. I think that's extremely important. You specifically say, and I say this all the time on my show, please tell me when I'm wrong. Please tell me if I'm getting something wrong. Let's get it right. That's what the goal of what we're trying to do here is. That's what Q wants us to do. And I say it all the time, man. So God bless you for what you do. Thank you for that.
Brother. And
thank you for having me on today. I'm thrilled to be here. The show is currently 1 to 3 Eastern on Patriot Soapbox, and that is the Common Sense Show. The Indy is my partner, is my co-host, is going to be changing jobs here in the near future, which means it changes our schedule, which means my show that normally is rotated around his work schedule will be going away, and in some way it will be going away. But stand by for more news on that.
Okay.
So what will be happening is our show will be moving to the 3 to 5 time slot The Common Sense Show with Indy and Abe will be going to 3 to 5 time slot. And it's going to be 5 days a week, which means I'm not going to have the uncensored show on Patriot Soapbox anymore. But stand by, because I'm going to continue doing the uncensored show. If you drop my YouTube out there, and I'll announce that here in the near future about how we're going to keep the uncensored show alive. And I think you guys are going to be thrilled to see how I transition the uncensored show. I think a lot of you have probably seen the interviews that I've done with Jacobuyans, and we did interviews with Sidney Powell and all kinds of great people that the interviews have turned out amazing. I'm going to transfer that into this show, and we're going to keep that going. So if you guys keep an eye on my YouTube out there, subscribe to my channel, and watch for news in the near future on the uncensored show, moving to possibly to another platform or on my YouTube channel. One way or another, I'm going to keep that show alive.
All right. As it is right now, I am showing the audience your YouTube channel. It's right there. See, I am subscribed. And then we've also got Abe's Twitter right here. We're going to be going through some stuff from his Twitter feed, but make sure that you do go ahead and follow Abe so that you can keep up with him and where his show is going to go. Okay, well, whatever you do, wherever you are, I certainly hope that you continue to make the awesome content that you do. So why don't we bring in Jason, our second guest. Jason has a very interesting story to tell you guys. I'm going to go ahead and let him know that it's time. It's time, buddy. All right, so Jason can come on in. So I'm actually going to let Jason tell this story. You know, Jason is here because he found that there is a brainwashing program of sorts going on in the public school system, something that my daughter did not have to deal with, and hopefully it's something that Jason's kids are not going to have to deal with either. Jason, are you there, buddy?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Red Pill?
I'm doing excellent, Abe's here with us, too. I know you guys got a chance to talk before the show. First of all, Jason, thank you so much for being here. Abe, also, thanks for telling us about yourself, and then thanks for agreeing to co-host the rest of the show with me. I love it when we got people to sound things off on. So, Jason, I was just telling the audience that you had given me a call because we worked together. Jason and I worked together on another show in the past, so we knew each other that way. I knew he was a researcher, and I knew he was working on a couple of things, but then he had a very rude awakening one day. Your son came home from school, is that right?
Yeah, the first day of school this year.
Okay, so what happened?
All right, man. So he's 13 now. He's in middle school, his second year. Comes home. And now the only reason he knows is because, I'm honest with them. They're not my kids, right? These are God's kids. I owe a responsibility to them, right? And it ain't to lie to them and withhold information and now that I know the agenda, I owe a responsibility to them children to play a part of that, right? So we're very active and we talk. So he came home the first day of school and he said, they made us watch CNN in history class today. I said, excuse me? He said, they made me watch CNN in history class today. It's like for 10 minutes. It's our world news. I said, oh, no. Well, check this out. So when you go back to school, if they try to do that again, you just simply tell them that I'm not allowed to watch that. I'll get in trouble and, find out what you need to do to excuse yourself from the class, whether that's go to the principal or whatever that be. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, next day he comes back next day, wife gets a call. She calls me freaking out. And, he was in the principal's office because he wasn't, conforming to watch CNN. So they went off on her. They're treating her like crap, yelling at her, like, how dare her, why, and what's wrong with that? And I'm at work. Meanwhile, they call her. She's the first point of contact. So I'm like, just tell them it's not part of the curriculum. Well, they didn't give us that option, Red Pill. They said he's going to, this is part of the curriculum. He's going to watch it or they're going to fail him. And they didn't have time, being the beginning of the school year, to set up a meeting to talk to me and her about it. So basically, to me, that's conform or fell, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's no other option other than to watch CNN, it might be something different if they were giving multiple sides to an issue, but we know that CNN's only got, the one official narrative. There's not much else.
Oh, not much at all. And I dropped, it's on YouTube. And I just realized tonight there's only 139 episodes, which is kind of odd. They've been showing the same 139 episodes, or maybe I'm missing something there for the same, because this goes back years, guys. You're going to find out. So let me keep going.
Keep going.
So we can stay on track here. So I decided, no, that's not good enough for me. I called the superintendent, right? I got some questions, and this isn't how it's going to be. Our kids, they're not allowed to watch the news. First of all, not just because it's CNN, but because there's nothing left to it. I watched them, guys. I watched 4 of them, and all it is the aftermath of Paradise, California, the aftermath of these floods, the riots in Hong Kong, like all the destruction, and and then they're just off to their regular class. They don't research nothing to come to their own understanding. They're left with what CNN wants them to see.
So there's no discussion afterwards either?
No discussion. As they get older into high school, I found this out for my nieces because I made a big deal. I told the superintendent, I said, well, it was her secretary, right? I said, no, it's not going down like this. Like, they're not allowed to watch news. Nope. She said, well, will you at least be open-minded? So I called the superintendent. She said, oh, no. I said, because I got friends, if I need to get down here with yellow vests and signs and make some noise and make some people aware of what's going on, but you guys aren't going to tell us we're conforming to making them watch news. Have you guys seen the news lately? No, it's not happening. So she said, no, I agree with you. I'll call the school right now. 10 minutes later, the principal calls me, says, hey, I'll take it out of his curriculum, but can you be open-minded and do me the favor of watching some? Well, yeah, of course I will. That's what we are. We're open-minded, right? Right. You and Abe were talking about that. Let me see all the information. Give it all to me before I make a decision, right? And so, my OCD, I got to do a little bit more. I watched 4 or 5 of them, right? So I see all that stuff in them. And I call her, and I very politely, the next day, I told her, no, I'm still not okay with it. Can you take it out? Well, they've been targeting it. Well, in the meantime, my nieces are telling me, Jason, we watched that through middle school all the way up through high school. In high school, after they write, to just so the teacher sees if they were paying attention, all they had to do. Now, this is just my nieces, and guys, you're going to find out it's at a lot more places than you knew. No, this isn't a lot of schools going on right now. Okay. And when you guys start finding out, oh man. So all they had to do was write 2 things that piqued their interest for the video. That's it. No research, no nothing. Red pill.
I would assume that this sounds like a part of Common Core, something that was implemented during the Obama administration. Did they tell you how long this has been going on for? And I dropped Abe's Twitter in the chat, guys.
No, and we're gonna find out. That's why I'm here. That's why we're talking about it. Like, there needs to be some accountability. So what I did, guys, and that's is what I do. My strong suit isn't really the research. I'm plugged in. I'm end up at the place at the right time. I'm a people person. I just love on people. I bring the community together. We all have our strong points. So, they don't tell no parents. I wanted to go further. They need to at least let the parents know, hey, this is what we do. Are you okay with this? Not try to sneak it in our curriculum, but that's our responsibility. Right.
Well, what the scary thing is, they're assuming that everyone is going to be okay with it because CNN is the news. It's the official news channel that it plays in airports. Of course, they played in school, so I'm not entirely surprised.
Yeah, at all, man. And here's the thing: if my son wouldn't have known, godson, Dallin wouldn't have known when he came home, like, to tell me about it. How many parents don't watch news? How many parents aren't communicating with their children to when their children don't even know something's wrong with it to say something to them, right? So for how many schools and how long is this going on for? And I put the YouTube, I sent you everything through the text or through the Discord messaging, some links for what we're talking about tonight.
I'll go pull it up.
The YouTube channel, I think it says 139. I was doing it last 10 minutes, 139 episodes. Now, some of my nieces are their first year in college. If they've been watching these since middle school, 139 episodes ain't much. So they've pre-picked and they keep editing these little ones, the same ones they want to feed. I'm not cool with it. So now they send him somewhere else during the curriculum, but that's not enough for me. I'm going to, I joined the PTA so I can get in there and find out, exactly how we can go about making the other parents aware and letting them make a decision if they're okay with it. Because we see now we see what CNN stands for. They're owned by the same CNN. We see what they stand for.
Oh yeah.
Jason, when you went to the PTA, I want to hit on that topic right there. When you started talking about it there, what kind of either pushback or feedback did you get from that?
You're gonna make me cry right now. I was gonna wait till this later. I sat down. I didn't get to stay for it. Some family emergency came up, and I sat down for the first meeting. And you know how it is when we're carrying the light and we're letting it shine. We're targeted by the dark side, and some really shitty news came up, and I had to deal with that. So I'll get to the second one. We'll find out.
I got you.
All right,
so
brother.
let me, while you're recovering there, because I apologize for that, because I think it's important to hear how that went. I want to show everybody what Jason's talking about here. If you just do a search for CNN 10 into Twitter, and if you do this in other places, you'll find this as well. But take a look here. This is CNN 10 in Japan. This is CNN 10 again in Japan. This is CNN 10 all in the news now, right? But look, you have people posting. I didn't realize there's not CNN 10 in college. Almost like they're addicted to this stuff. There is thousands of posts of people putting stuff onto Twitter. The times where they have watching CNN 10. I think Jason's area is over by the West Coast, but it doesn't necessarily matter because you can see here. It is all over the place. This is so pervasive that I wasn't even aware of this till Jason started talking about it. But quite clearly, this is happening all over the place. And I guess what we have to do is just inform people of this, right, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we got to start. We got to talk about it. We got to not be okay with it. We got to have a voice. That's what, I put a picture in there. There was someone did a post on Facebook. That's where I do all my stuff is on Facebook. I haven't figured out how to have enough time for Twitter and Facebook and all this other stuff. So I'm on Facebook, but I caught a cool message on there the other day, and it talked about, Q's gone right now, right? And what have they been training us, man? Like they've been training. It's all about accountability, right? You talked about it with Matrix and Shady. It's nothing against them. It's about the accountability. Why have we worked this hard, man? How are we going to want POTUS and Q to hold all these deep state and everybody else accountable when we're not even willing to hold each other accountable? We're not even willing to go into the schools and speak up for our kids. We have that responsibility. Q has been a template. I don't want him to come back. Right? It's our responsibility. We got work to do, guys. Like, well, at what point, at what time are we going to quit waiting for the silver spoon?
No, it's an excellent point. I think that is exactly what we've been taught. I mean, like it's the saying, we are the news now. We are the tip of the spear. We've been brought together. We've all been kind of opened up and had our minds red-pilled all at the same time on so many different things. This is exactly what we're supposed to do, is take action. If we just sit back and say, oh, well, that's horrible, CNN 10, my kids are being brainwashed, but what are you going to do? Then that's the exact wrong thing to do. So joining the PTA, Jason, getting involved, maybe even running for a spot on the school board. That would be an excellent way to do it. I think that you would have even more of an impact on the types of curriculum that gets taught, because Common Core, as we all know, is terrible. Have either of you guys had a chance to look through the math lessons in Common Core now? It's stuff that makes absolutely no sense. The lessons, the things that they are teaching kids nowadays, yeah, you're right. It's ridiculous. I couldn't believe it when I looked at it. And half of this,
I found out. Oh, sorry. Can I go real quick?
Go ahead.
They make them do this test, Red Pill, where it does nothing, but all it does is puts them in a bracket, a category. There's no grade. It's not worth nothing, but they freak out about it all year because they're so worried about their grades they're going to get. They don't have to take them tests. There's a form. We don't have to make them take them tests, guys. We can stand up.
Yes. Yes, definitely. And what's even more disconcerting is that about half of my daughter's classes, there wasn't even a textbook. there was nothing for her to go back and refer to when it was time to do homework. She would come to me. I did not do poorly in school. I enjoy school. I like learning. I went to many years of college too, just because I liked getting information. She would bring me these lessons and trying to figure out what it is that they're trying to teach them. What is the point of it? So many times I felt like I might as well have just not even gone to high school, because I couldn't understand what it was they were trying to tell them, because the lessons that they are teaching them are so convoluted. Yes, Geezerman says your guest Jason is passionate and a very good parent. I completely agree. That's why I asked Jason here to talk to us about this stuff, because the other thing is, I don't know if my daughter was shown CNN 10. She's out of high school now. She's not even there any longer. But I would like everyone else to ask your children or your grandchildren, see if this is going on in their schools, because I bet you 9 times out of 10, it probably is. They have been taught that this is the way to go, that CNN is the news. This is what's acceptable. So they're not even thinking about it as something that they should come home and tell you, because they've just been given it, feeding it to them on a silver platter, telling them that this is what they should be learning. This is the way that news is supposed to be presented. You should hate Donald Trump. He is a horrible person with all kinds of isms attached to him. And hopefully every single one of you is having these discussions with your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, your brothers and your sisters, and your parents. I love the fact that I red-pilled my mom. I turned my mom into a Trump supporter. And you guys, there's nothing better than that. If you've got somebody that you love very much, who you're very close with, who you can bring over to what I would consider to be the light side.
It's very important. You talked about Common Core, and what Common Core is, at its foundation is called the Seed Project. The Seed Project links directly to Peggy McIntosh. Peggy McIntosh wrote white privilege, wrote the false narrative that is white privilege. White privilege is a myth. And Peggy McIntosh has direct links to the Weather Underground, Bernadine Dorn. All of those things, along with the Seed Project, they're all linked together. It's all about the far left progressive movement that is basically, in my opinion, and I can prove it if you want me to do so, and let me know your opinion on this, is the foundation of Nazism in America.
I'm not surprised. And yes, that it seems like that's exactly what it is. We have this perfect melding of the fascism from the 1940s Germany, those people who came over here and probably in Operation Paperclip. And I caught some flack for saying this a couple months ago. People got angry. The idea that we had Nazis in the U.S. government. Well, we did, guys. They came over here. They took all the scientists, all of the talking heads, the people who were essentially the brain trust of Germany back during World War II, and they brought them here into America, and that's how NASA started. Okay, that's how much of the intelligence apparatus was built up, because these people came here and they knew how to subjugate their people and how to keep a close eye on them and feed them propaganda. Joseph Goebbels, propaganda. That's it right there. If you don't think that that's true, then by all means, do a little bit of research, and we'll come back here and talk about it, because it's what happened, and it's very scary. When I was a kid and I learned about Operation Paperclip, I could not believe it. Couldn't believe it. And then at the same time learning, wait a second, Russia was our ally during World War II, and now we are practically at war with Russia. We have a Cold War with Russia. It's just incredible, But yes, the fascism and the communism has melded perfectly in the left of today.
It really is important. It's the foundation of what Bill Ayers, Weather Underground, Bernadine Dorn, all of that stuff is all higher level foundational stuff to change societies, to control people. It is all linked together. The foundation of the far left movement in America is the foundation of Marxism. The foundation of Marxism has direct links to the Nazi movement. The history of it all is the same, and it's the way that they have gone about doing it in America to control people shows why parents like Jason, and I want to get it back to you, Jason, when you talk about how kids in America are kind of brainwashed, and by the time they get to college, they learn just enough to get them through college to become good little worker bees. And so talk about that topic a little bit as far as how you would want to talk to your children about that.
Well, I'll talk about my experience and what I recognize in my life with my nieces and the kids and that, because that's all I'm really around, right? So, like, there's so much hope. I'm going to share 2 stories with you real quick. So I get to take our little one to kindergarten. She started kindergarten this year. I didn't want to put her in school, but while I have to until the time allows itself and I'm in a position to be able to homeschool her, I am, but I'm going to be really involved and active, right? So, you know what I've been noticing, Abe? It's so cool. All the kids, they all hug. They hug in the beginning of the day. They're happy to see each other. They know each other's name. They hug each other, tell them they love them. And at the end of the day, when they leave, they hug each other, tell them they love them, have a good night. Like, that is cool. Like, that's a cycle that's breaking right now. This is what we have coming up, guys, for when this cleansing, and all this stuff happens with you. So pay attention to that. And there's a lot of hope. There's so many beautiful things happening right now. That's all part of this transition and this great awakening. And the more I can see it and recognize it, the more beautiful it is, and the more it is to just accept everything for where it is. So my nieces, like Red Pill you were talking about, and hi, Mom, I think you're here. You called right before the show and wanted a link. So if you are, I love you. Mom's Red Pill. She's Red Pilling her nurse at home, right? That'll be a different story, dude. She told her, do you know who Q is, dude? So it was cool, and she gave him a little breakdown about who it was. But my nieces, we communicate, we talk about it. I stood in my truth, right? I had to learn a lot behind it, guys. This is a growing process. At first, I wanted to shove the information. I wanted everybody else to know, and I had to give them all the information, and I wasn't very responsible about how I gave them the information. I was just dropping it on there, and it was harming. I didn't realize how much the pain and the different kind of processes we go through this awakening, right? With the information and the things we learn, and there's so many layers peeling back. And so I've stood in my truth, man, and I've learned through that. You guys have taught me through that, right? And because I've asked for help, I've been vulnerable, and I've shared with you guys where I was really at, and I haven't known shit, and I keep asking. And I listen to you and Red Pill on here, man, and you guys are sharp, right? I got some smart friends, man, that, because 23 years I didn't participate. I was getting loaded. I was in and out of prisons, just doing drugs and running them up. I didn't know how to. I knew everything was a sham. So the nieces, they're red pilled too, right? Because they've been watching. My sisters, they tell me we haven't liked or commented on one post, but we watch them all. So the kids in college, all it takes is a little bit. If you watch, they've just been led wrong. They've been CNN, and they've been in this pre-programming the whole time, and we haven't stood up for them, right? Because we haven't known how. Our voices haven't been big enough. We haven't had the internet. It's always been a couple people. They've been the conspiracy crazy people. So now, look how amazing we are collectively. Look at the things we've done together, guys. Oh man, when you really break it down. So when we tell them and you teach them a little bit, they're pissed off. They want answers. They want accountability, right? The same way they're riding for the AOCs and the same way they're riding for all these crazy socialist lefts, it's because that's all they know. That's all they've been fed. So when we break that barrier with them and they get all of the information and they start doing their own research, they're pissed off and they want people held accountable. And that's all the experience I have. My nieces, that's all, they're all like that. But, I've given them information. I've shared with them, responsibly, sometimes not responsibly. I've learned through it. Sometimes I've given too much information, the kids, Dallin, the one, he's 13, he's red pilled. He got in trouble because, he wanted to be cool in front of his kids, in front of his friends at school, his little boys and stuff. And so when the teacher asked him why, he took that moment to say, because CNN's fake news. That's why I can't watch it. Right.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So they know, and when we talk to them, they're ready, man. They are, and they're fighters. And there's a lot of hope, and, it brings me a lot of hope to look at them.
You're a great dad in that aspect. And I think the biggest thing that you've done is not treat your kids like they're too young to understand what's happening in the world. I think too many parents treat their kids like they want to shelter them from the truth of the world, and then they get out to the real world and they're so not ready for it. So I think you've done a great thing on that. I think the other thing that you've done is something that I've done with my children as well, is ask them to question everything all the time, teach them to be independent thinkers.
That's exactly it. I mean, you have to talk to your kids as if they are intelligent enough to understand you. You know, you don't talk down to them, you don't placate them, you don't tell them that there's anything that is, you know, too adult for them to understand. When it comes to issues of global importance like this, okay, issues about society, there are definitely some things that you don't want to talk to your kids about too early. I think we all know what those are. But the ability to have an intelligent conversation with your child makes it much more likely that they're going to grow up and maintain that ability with other people in society. So definitely, Abe was right on the money. You're a great dad. You've done a great job.
Thanks, guys. You know, one of the biggest things that I sit with is like, help me be responsible to these children, not for them.
There you go.
They're not mine, they're God's. Like, just teach me how to give them a loving, safe space to come to their own understanding, because I've been tricked my whole life. Like, I don't know no good what's good for them. They're way more pure than us. Like, we just got to sit back and learn from them. They'll show us, right? So when we get in these situations, when I get in these situations and these kids tell me something they don't feel right, I don't question that. They know more than me. Jason, the little one, the night of we live in Las Vegas. The night of the Vegas shooting, she woke up screaming. She woke up screaming, yelling, dude. I didn't know what's going on. I ran there. Bad dream, babe. Just go back to bed. The morning when I woke up for work, went in to kiss her. She said, is it over yet? Is it over yet? Make it stop. I didn't know what she was talking about.
Wow.
An hour later, I heard what happened. Come on, man. These kids are so pure. They're so tapped into God right now. We ruin them. Not us individually, but
society.
The system. Society, man. Yeah. And we're going to get into that the second part of the dig. We're finding out now. We know we got to talk to them. We know what we're up against, guys. Like, I'm finding, and where you'll have the information later, we need help exposing it. But these charter schools that are tied into these, where you go eat that stuff and they have all the different things you can put on it. We don't like to say the word because shows get
that's right.
Down.
It's Italian food.
Yeah. Well, just so what they're doing is they're teaching kids. They're tied in with some of these charter schools, and they're teaching them. There's templates how to talk to strangers. They're encouraging them to talk to strangers.
How backwards. We're living in the mirror world, you guys. The upside down, if you will.
Up is down, left is right, right is left, left is left.
Hey, we got a lot of work to do, but we're doing it. And for me, when I sit back and watch, okay, so here's the thing, and I learned this through Matrix and Shady, right? Q gives us enough information. When all that happened, right? Because I'm new. I've known my whole life. I'm an empath. I've known. That's why I ran behind drugs, because the world wasn't ready for me. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't gonna, participate in everything that was messed up. So when it was time and my calling came, I stood up and I'm like, I'm here fighting, right? And everything's just fight, like the buffalo facing the north with his head down in the storm. And so it's I forgot where I was going with that, but go ahead, Ed.
Oh yeah, real quick, I just need to say thank you to Sandy Zeiss. She said you guys need to catch a video with BCP, Black Conservative Patriot. He's Southern California ex-banker that does an awesome show, as do you, RP and True. I have messaged Black Conservative Patriot. I can't get him to respond to me, and I actually no fault of his own. I think that it's just like it's difficult for us to keep up with every single chat when you got over 2,000 people typing at the same time, as well as probably hundreds, if not thousands, of messages coming through your Twitter feed, your Facebook, your email. It might be difficult to keep up, but this is another appeal to Black Conservative Patriot. I would love to do a show with you, my friend. I would love to have you on the show. Love to have you over here. So Abe, did you have something that you want to interject?
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing you want to transition to the next segment, or you got some more time with Jason here?
Well, no. Jason had one more piece that he wanted to get into before we bring Thomas in.
No, I want to finish this segment off with a certain Q post for Jason, and then we can move on from there. Jason, what's the next part of the story that you want to discuss about today?
Okay, so it's one of them things. I'm gonna slow down a little bit. I can't use certain words, but you guys can follow along. You'll know exactly where we went and what happened. So 4th of July, we made a trip to DC for the Salute to America, and some Anons, Anon T-17, and some other people that we've been part of a server with, we decided to go get something to eat at that one place that's, on the outskirts, that's kind of been in the news a little bit. And so we go there with a mission to, see, right? To infiltrate, see what's going on. I got to see, right? You guys, Q's taught me, right? I don't follow nobody. I follow God. Q gives me enough information, and collectively, when I work with you guys, we figure out what it is, right? And we work together and we get to the nugget of it. So we go in, I get some footage, about 20 minutes worth. They got a band playing named Uranium One that night. Uranium One. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Just put in our faces.
So we get there like 10 minutes before. I've got my Trump hat on, right? Because, I don't go nowhere without that Trump 2020. We're looking like tourists, though. We're playing the perfect thing. Everybody's mean mugging us. They won't serve us food. They said, no, we just ended. And at the meantime, they're bringing food out, right? So we sit there or get a pitcher of beer just for a reason to sit down. And so get some footage. And I am able to – I'm a people person. I love people, man. I love all y'all. I just hate the sin, right? So – I got my little pin with my Mercine in it, and, that's my avenue. So I get on the patio. I ask the employee that looks cool, hey, man, am I okay hitting this on the patio? He's like, oh, yeah, and his eyes light up. So I say, hey, come out there with me, right? You can hit. So he comes out, man, and look over, and some guy's looking at us, and I say, hey, who's that? Is he cool? He's like, yeah, that's the manager. He smokes. Don't worry about it. So I say, hey, come on over here, man. You want to hit this? So 20 minutes later, he's like, oh, man, you're really cool. Do you have Facebook? Do I got Facebook? Oh, yes, I got Facebook. So I give him my name, right, Red Bill?
Mm-hmm.
I give him my name, and he's like, which one? And see, I'm thinking it through. So I take his phone, and I send myself the friend request, and then I X out of it so I'm not the first thing on his page, right? Give him his phone back, give him the pin, and now I got as much as I could, right? I got like 600 of his friends. Now he's the manager there. Now
wait, hold on. I just want to recap that. You sent yourself a friend request from the manager of a particular restaurant in DC's phone so that you could scope out his Facebook and screenshot all of his connections. Genius. Genius.
Yeah. So I was on vacation with the family. I was supposed to not be doing no digging, no nothing. But I mean, how do you not, right? So I can't help myself, right? And before it used to be like I'd be disappear for days and not come home. Now it's like I can't quit digging. So so I get what I can. I only got 600 friends, but this is where I need help, right? That's not my strong suit, guys. We got it in a platform. We know that they can't talk anymore, because we have, we hear them. We know they can't text message and email. We know that they talk in code on social media, right? Have we proven that already?
Oh, yeah.
Through all their tweets, all their Facebook. Now, when you get in here, first of all, why is the manager of this place, why did he used to work for all these financial Fortune 500 money companies prior to going and working at this place?
Right, because that's like the usual career path. You work for some global asset management company, and then you take over a local pie parlor, PIZZA pie parlor.
Yeah. So check this out. There's so many holes here, guys. I'm glad I got some of the best friends, sharpest, smartest people in the world. You guys are gonna love this. Perfect. Q's gone. We got work to do, right? All them indictments.
Mm-hmm.
Who put it out? Joanne put it out a couple last times when the indictments come out. He said, not enough, Anons, keep digging. I get to work. We got work to do, right? So I get on there. His wife, first of all, say a prayer for their son. When you guys go to her Facebook profile and you go looking at these pictures, he's autistic, and they put him in this shirt that has that food on it. They advertise it,
Right.
All their friends. Why are they? She works for Human Health Services. Why do they have ties? Why do they work with all these autistic kids? Why do they work with all these kids that are challenged? Why do they have access to all these kids? Why do they have access to all these charter schools?
It's the access to the children.
They're all in symbolism in these charter schools wearing owls, teaching kids how to talk to strangers.
Yeah.
Why are they advertising on all their stuff? If you read some of the text message, some of the pictures, some of the stuff we put in the mega file, it doesn't stop. And I only got 600 of his friends. Now, what happened was when he found out who I was, he blocked me, right?
Right.
So if he got caught for that, you know how much trouble he can get in? You know what's going to happen to him? We know. We know.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So he didn't even tell his wife because she hasn't blocked me. Because, dude, that you would tell her. They're all part of it. If you're not going to share that with your wife, you're scared. You're shitting bullets, right?
Right.
So that's your guys' strong point. You guys in the audience, I got the information. I don't know how to go from here.
So how do people get in touch with you if they want to get involved with this investigation with you? And I would imagine that when they get a hold of you, you're going to give them a lot more details that we can't talk about here on the air.
Yes. My Facebook link is in your
in Discord.
In Discord, yeah.
All right, you guys, if you want to watch the chat, I am about to throw Jason's Facebook.
Send me a private message, guys. That way I know, because I've got a lot of pending requests. I think I got like 150 I can accept. So I just got someone standby. So
I see 2. Is it Kirsten Daly?
No, I dropped her. I dropped the I also dropped the wife for him.
I don't see your Facebook in here. I see the 2 links that are not you. And then
I'll put it in there. I'll put it in there fresh right now.
Okay, sweet.
That way it's easy. All right. Hold on, coming at you right now. Oh, and then do you see that picture? You see the I'll invest? That's our Q. That's our QAnon 1972. We do QBQs out here. We get in the community, red pill people, love on people, get out and feed the vets, feed the homeless, stuff like that, man. We're trying to bring some unity. We're not trying. We're bringing unity back to the community because we got a lot of work to do. That's part of this great awakening and waking up, man. We're going to need each other. So, if you want to put a picture of our vest, I'm really proud of them. Do you see that picture? Can you drop that?
Yeah, I showed it on the screen earlier. Let me show it again.
Right on. Thank you, bro.
Of course. There we are. We showed that earlier, but now you guys get a look. So yeah, get a hold of Jason if you guys want to help in a very important investigation, or if you just want to talk to Jason about how you can get involved in your own local school district, because I'm sure that he's going to have some excellent insight into what's going on there. Well, Jason, was there anything else that you wanted to add before we move on to the next segment?
Nah, thank you, man. Red Pill, Conscience Abe, you guys are amazing. Just remind everybody collectively, like, we got this. Q's been training us. Look what we've done. Look at if you really sit back and look what we've accomplished, like, we got this. We're going to be okay. Like, there's so many arrests happening and different things if you really sit back and look. And right now there's so much with Q coming out, no big name arrest. I keep getting, everyone's frustrated and they want it right now. And, so if you just slow down and look, a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are changing. I love y'all, and I'm proud of it, each and every one of you, man. I'm honored to be in this fight with you guys, and no matter what they throw at me. And also, if you guys can please keep our family in your prayers. Some things are going on.
Right.
They're making it really tough on your boy right now, Red Pill, but we got it.
Of course, everybody continue to pray for Jason and his family because, like many of us out here, we're struggling on a daily basis. So the best thing we can do is to be here for each other. And I do love you, Jason. Thank you very much for coming on. I got people asking if you have a Twitter. Do you have a Twitter?
I do. Let me go grab that real quick. I don't use it, but you can use it I'll answer messages in it when you get in contact. So let me grab that real quick.
Okay. All right. Great. All right, guys. Now, after we say goodbye to Jason, Abe and I have some stories to go through. TRUReporting is going to jump in and just kind of help us go through them. But Abe sent over a couple of quick things that we wanted to go over that are very, very important. Man, I'm looking forward to this one. Let me see here. The first thing that we have on the deck is the antitrust.
All right, Red Pill, there you go.
All
you guys
right.
have a good night, man.
Oh no, Jason, that's your Facebook. That's your Facebook again, buddy.
It didn't give you the Twitter?
No, it gave me the Facebook.
Share, copy link. Let's try it again.
Okay. Here we go. All right, guys. So this will be Jason's Twitter account. You can go ahead and follow him there. Send him a message and link up and see what you can do. Let's see. It's actually it's not coming through for some reason. All I've got are those 2 Facebook.
It's at Q, capital A, the little bottom line, whatever that is. Help me out there. That thing that says
QA_Anon.
Yeah. No, QAnon _ 1972.
QAnon _ 1972. Okay, there you go, guys. So at QAnon _ 1972, that will be Jason's Twitter handle. You can go ahead and check it out there. All right, brother, thank you so much for being here with us tonight and telling us about your story, and I hope everything works out, okay?
Oh, well, thank you guys. Love you.
All right, brother, peace.
Peace.
All right, so Abe, let's see. Let me actually... There we go. Okay, all right, so the first story that we're going to go over here today, Abe, I believe is that antitrust thing on Google. Let's go ahead and talk about that.
It's actually a massive story that's going to be breaking next week. The funny part about it is the market. It was actually talked about on CNBC. It was talked about in Fox Business today. It was talked about on Bloomberg even today, that this was going to come down next week, that there are going to be several antitrust lawsuits that are going to be happening here with several district attorneys from around the country that are going to be going after Google, Facebook, Twitter, as well as 4 different car companies for antitrust stuff happening in California. So there's a lot kind of happening here. And so I don't know if you want to summarize the article or share the article. What do you want to do with on that front?
I've got the article right on the screen for us right now. And real quick, I just need to say thank you to White Hat. He says, guess what channel is always on in the government cafe and gym? I'm going to guess that it's CNN just because that's who we were talking about. And then Nick L says, quick thoughts on marker 1, image 2727, and 2, image 2729, possibly being 99 and 911. When you guys get to a pause. Thanks, ladies and gents. What post was that from? Nick L, if you can drop that in the chat, let us know which post that you're referencing there. But yeah, so basically 9 states attorneys general are launching this antitrust investigation into Facebook, and then 36 state attorney generals are launching another one into Alphabet, their biggest subsidiary, which would be Google. This is huge news. So this is a bipartisan effort. It's coming from a Democrat-led New York Attorney General Letitia James, and that will be also the states of Colorado, Florida, Iowa, Nebraska, North Carolina, Ohio, Tennessee, and the District of Columbia. This is something that we've been needing for quite some time, and I kind of think that everybody kind of, who cares about antitrust anymore, because nothing's happening with it. They're not using the laws to help us and help us as consumers. I see that Thomas has joined us in the call. How you doing, Thomas?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, Thomas? How are you, man?
Conscience Abe, so glad to meet you on here, my friend.
Yeah, definitely, man. So we're talking about this antitrust suit with that. Basically, the summary of it is that next week, 9 states attorneys are launching an antitrust investigation against Facebook and as well as Alphabet's Google. 9 states, top legal officials: Colorado, Florida, Iowa, Nebraska, North Carolina, Ohio, Tennessee, and the District of Columbia. We've been seeing for a while now that this stuff is going to be coming down, and I actually want to go through the Q post at some point here. But what's your initial take on this, on how this might play out here in the near future, TRUReporting?
This is my first time hearing about this. I hope Go ahead.
I was just going to let you know the Facebook antitrust suit in particular is related to the compromising of consumer data. Now, we know that Facebook, much like Google, has a stranglehold on consumer data. This is like the #1 industry in America right now because all of that data harvesting they're doing because of your Facebook profile, because they're scraping it all off of your phone, they can pinpoint where you're going to go throughout your day, the types of things that you're going to do, and certainly everything that you're looking at on your mobile device. I had a friend just the other day showing me on their phone. They were looking at Google Now feed, and it's like all of these news stories that they're suggesting for you, and they're all targeted based upon your searches. So everything that you're searching for, they are constantly harvesting that data. And it's not that they just use it to show you websites, they sell it. They sell it to everybody, to advertisers and marketers, because that way they have a much easier time of trying to get you to buy things. And spying
this is how they make cash. It's just a slush fund of selling our information. These people, which I've said, why are they in China? These companies are our adversaries to America. That's all they are.
Yeah.
And they have to be completely brought down and restructured from the ground up before there's any type of progression with it.
Well, I think that multi-billion-dollar fines as a result of these trust lawsuits coming against them. I think that this is the best way that we can hope for it to start. But I think that it says here that they paid a $5 billion penalty in a settlement with the FTC back in July. I don't know that we have an estimate yet on the amount of money that Facebook is looking at for this particular antitrust lawsuit. But have you heard anything specific about that, Abe?
No, there's been some hints, but no, nothing really concrete yet. I mean, the funny thing about all this is actually Europe has been ahead of the game on this. They've already gone after them several times on this front. So there was already law precedent with regards to data, and it actually created what's that called in Europe, where there's the censorship thing where they're kind of blocking websites and stuff now. I forgot the name of it.
I know that they're looking to block memes and stuff like that. And ironically, they just announced that something like that is happening here in America. I believe it's DARPA that's heading that up to try and the Pentagon trying to block memes before they can spread the information before they get a chance to stifle it.
Yeah, it's the same thing from that. Can I share screen or?
Oh yeah, go ahead, share screen.
All right, so let me show you guys what kind of happened today with that. Now, this news kind of dropped in the middle of the day here, so I want to show you the stock price from Facebook today.
Ooh.
Apparently, some people got tipped off that this was coming because you can see right off the open this morning, the stock took a pretty big hit and dropped pretty far down right off the bat, and then towards the middle of the day was when this news dropped. And you can see it was just kind of flat and then falling off towards the end of the day, taking a hit of around 1.5%, almost 2% down today. So that's pretty interesting. The other news that we kind of hinted about with this antitrust stuff is the article that I have in your feed. And I'll just bring this up on my screen here.
Please.
Right here. Justice Department launches antitrust probe into 4 automakers. Now, the reason why this is so interesting is because the government seeks to determine if Ford, Honda, BMW, and Volkswagen violated competition law. Now, we know Volkswagen has already been in pretty big trouble in America.
Yeah, for the emissions, right?
Yeah, exactly, for their emissions things. And this links directly to that. The Justice Department has launched an antitrust investigation into 4 automakers that forged a deal with California on vehicle emissions standards, escalating the conflict between Trump administration and Sacramento, blah, blah, blah. Point being is that this antitrust being in the news for me is a news on locks marker for this.
Ooh.
3Q post with antitrust in them. 1841 came in on 11 August 2018. The illusion of choice. Media is controlled by 6 media giants. Fake news consolidation, propaganda arm of the Democrat Party define antitrust laws. And here it is right here, FTC.gov. Antitrust laws. Sherman Act allows every contract, combination, or conspiracy in the restraint of trade and any monopolization, attempted monopolization, or conspiracy or combination to monopolize. FTC tips, advice, competition guidance for antitrust laws. Quote, the FTC's competition mission is to enforce the rules of the competitive marketplace, the antitrust laws. These laws promote vigorous competition and protect consumers from anti-competitive mergers and business practice. Reconcile, plus Google, plus Facebook, plus Twitter. Change we can believe in. Q. Then we get another one in, and that was let me check that date again on that. That was 11 August 2018. August is often a hot month, so you know this stuff didn't just happen today. This has been in the planning for a while. 12 September 2018, which I find to be an interesting date, being towards the end of next week. Very interesting.
Yes.
2171 came in. How do you demonstrate reasonable cause to regulate and or break up big tech? What is the common theme? Tactic of the left. Define fascism. Forcible suppression of opposition. Define censorship. The institution, system, or practice of censoring. Define narrative. A way of presenting or understanding a situation or a series of events that reflects and promotes a particular point of view or set of values. Define projection. Ask any leftist and they'll tell you that right in your face. The attribute of one's own ideas, feelings, or attitudes to other people's or objects, especially the externalization of blame, guilt, responsibility, and as a defense against anxiety. The forming of a plan, scheming. Define psychological projection. Just watch Chuck Schumer and you can find that there quickly. A theory in psychology in which a human ego defends itself against unconscious impulses or qualities, both positive and negative, by denying their existence in themselves, which attributing themselves to others. Yes, my false reality is much better to live in. Define narcissist. A person who has an excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. Narcissists who think the world revolves around them. I think Kamala Harris has this issue. Narcissists preening themselves in front of the mirror. Yes. Define dogma. A point of view or a tenet put forth as authoritative without adequate grounds. Define aggression. Forceful and sometimes overly assertive pursuit of one's aims and interests. Define suppression, the act of suppressing something such as an activity or publication. Bonus round. Narcissists are renowned for their psychological projection to blame other people even when it isn't entirely apparent that they are the ones in the wrong. Define realism, the quality or fact of representing a person, thing, or situation accurately in a way that is true to life. Realism, actions of Antifa. Aggression, projection, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative, dogma, actions of fake news, aggression, projection, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative, dogma, actions of Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Reddit, etc., etc., etc. Aggression, projection, suppression, fascism, censorship, narrative, dogma, bombs away! Bloomberg article, Fox News article talking about narrative creating right in front of our faces that we've seen over and over again. We all can spot it a mile away now. Massive fake news attention for a conspiracy Reddit board being banned. Why are we being targeted by some of the largest media organizations on the planet? Sample? A whole sampling of attacks towards Q conspiracy theorists. We're all a bunch of crazies. Panic in DC. Statements start a fire. 12 moves ahead. Suicide watch Q. And then the last one we got in real quick. 23 July 2019 is that previous post I just read about antitrust laws, and then the conspiracy to combine and monopolize, change we can believe in, and then it has the Trump student status, and it just simply says change we can believe in. And God bless Q, God bless President Trump, because finally we are going to see these people be held accountable for their actions. The First Amendment will stand, and all us patriots out here who are sick and tired of being repressed, of being shot down, of being under the boot of these people is going to end. And I'm going to be in such joy when this happens. It is going to be the greatest day, the greatest tasting popcorn I've ever had in my life.
Have you ever thought about doing like wrestling promos?
Sunday.
Yeah, that was like I was like kind of getting pumped up listening to that. I was kind of
just change we can believe in. I'm there. Yeah. I think you're totally right. I think you're totally right. You know, as followers of these boards, I think that all of us have just been waiting for strong antitrust actions to come out of the federal government, the FTC. I am so happy that this is finally happening. When we talk about data and the compromising of our data, Facebook is only a small part of it. The other 50% is Google. Okay, they run all of the rest of the data throughout the entire internet. They both are a monopoly with each other. They are probably, in my opinion, they are interacting with each other, and they are structuring their advertising plans and making sure that they both have all of this stuff. I wouldn't doubt it if they were sharing the data that they get and they harvest with each other. And nobody else can compete with this stuff. I mean, there are other advertising options on the internet but they are so minuscule in terms of their reach and the amount of the market that they cover. These two tech giants really do control all of it. So we've got the antitrust actions against the automakers. We've got antitrust actions against the big tech companies. Was there any more antitrust news that came out this past week, Abe?
Not that I've noticed. I mean, I keep a very close eye on it. And there has been actually, if you search justice.gov, you'll see a whole string of kind of like, nothing's happening post, right? Like the nobody wants to hear about the little Joe Schmo down the street who got busted for antitrust fraud, like, right? Because that does nothing to change what they see as the reality around them, because none of the big people are being held accountable, which the thing that we all know that will happen is things are going to change, but you can't just snap a finger in our now culture, me culture, demanding it right this second. It doesn't happen that way. It's going to take time. And so, but what you see is you start to see how these laws set precedent in legal standards as we move forward. And that's what's very important. So when you see the little guy, the little mom and pops down the street, which actually some of them are kind of big that are on justice.gov. And now off the top of my head, I can't think of them, but I do a news blitz on justice.gov every day because that is where we need to be keeping our eye on to watch how these things happen. And so there has been other, and they kind of trickle in over the year, so it's really fun to watch if you kind of sit back at that 4,000 foot view that a lot of us like to be at. If you kind of just sit back, it's really fun to watch to see how day by day you get a little piece here, a little piece there, matriculating that ball down the field closer to the end zone. It's great to watch.
It is great to watch. I defy anyone to say, again, that nothing is happening. You just look at the totality of everything that's taken place, everything that President Trump has accomplished, all of the movement that we have had throughout these last couple of years. We were moving backwards. We were steadily moving backwards for decades. And finally, we've started to move in the opposite direction. Just because it's not where some people want it to be at this moment doesn't mean that we're not making progress. I'd say that we are winning, and it's a strong winning at that. Thomas, you got any thoughts, buddy?
I'm just listening, man. I'm just literally just sitting here listening. I'm like, this is such a, I don't know. It's just so good to be on this side. Like, I like being on this side because I can listen, and then I can just, throw in my conjecture when I want to.
All right. Well, why don't we move on to the PJ Media story? SPLC, is it?
Yeah, it's a really big story, and those of you that watch my show know that. And I'm not gonna say that I was the one that started keeping a close eye on Child Protective Services and DCFS and all of the things that are happening out there with that kind of thing, because it's not like that. It wasn't me. There was many of us that are going out there trying to get the news out there. It just felt like a lot of us were banging our heads against a wall, because every time we would try to talk about this, no one would really talk about it. And finally now, the news is starting to break out there more about this kind of stuff. And the reason is because of great reporters like Megan Fox, who I've had on my show several times over the past few months. She does a great job, along with several other people out there as well. Mike Volpe does a great job. And you've seen many other people pick up on this now, and it's not a matter of who's first; it's that the news gets out there, and that's what I want to key in on. Megan Fox put this article out there the other day, and it really caught my eye, and it really on the same topic that had to deal with earlier that we were talking about. High school assignment forces kids to disclose their sexual orientation and reveals massive political agenda. A high school in North Carolina is under fire for an assignment entitled Diversity Inventory that left students crying and parents outraged. Heritage High School English teacher Melissa Wilson gave out an assignment to her class last week that asked them to categorize themselves, their parents, their doctor, friends, and more by race, class, sexuality, and religion, among other things. And I'm assuming you have that up on screen now, or? Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, and it's, on that same, labeling culture that we are in, the identity culture, that identity politics. When you start to see so many people, sounds okay, or we lost sound?
I did lose audio. I'm sorry. It's a virtual mute button, you guys. I do apologize. I hit it when I was going over to the screen, but I should be back now. I just noticed it. Cool. What I was saying was it's terrible how we went from ignoring the differences about each other because we're all American. We're supposed to just have our own identity and appreciate what that is and what makes us who we are and what's unique. But nowadays, if you don't check off enough of these boxes, then you have too much privilege and something is inherently wrong with you. And I bet you that's why these kids were crying.
Yeah, a lot of the kids were traumatized with it, and it says that in the story. And Megan Fox does a great job of really bringing these type of stories to light, and that's why I really appreciate her. And that's why I wanted to spend just a little bit of time talking about her article, and really highlighting the facts of the matter of being this culture of identity politics and labels that the left is forcing upon our children and our society is really a huge problem.
It is. It's terrible. So and I love Megan Fox. I just want to go on record and say that too. When I had her and Cindy, I had a couple of different mothers that were in the same situation as Cindy and that, fighting CPS, and Megan came for that. But it says students were asked to stand up and walk towards posters in different areas of the room that correlated with their sexual identities. This makes me so upset.
Is this child abuse?
I think it's child abuse. And it says that some of these kids are experiencing symptoms of PTSD as a result of it. Children should not be forced to decide what their sexuality is when they are young. I mean, from my own personal experience, I've always loved women. It was very obvious to me, and I think that for most people it is. But there are some kids who are going to find themselves in a position where they're confused about who they are because they're being taught that maybe they should do something that goes against the laws of nature. Because there are people who are born the way they are, and that's how it is. But nowadays, children are having this idea of sexuality shoved down their throats at a very, very young age. And I think that it gets confusing, and I think that it's a really bad thing. But there was kids that were in tears. At this morning's meeting, one parent said her student had been experiencing PTSD. Another student didn't attend school, and they're scared to return back to school. They hoped the hurricane would distract everyone from this incident. Can you imagine being a child and hoping that a hurricane would be the reason that you don't have to go back to school because you don't want to be forced to identify yourself in your sexuality? It's just a terrible, terrible situation to find yourselves in.
This is the indoctrination.
Yeah.
This is all this is. It's indoctrination at a young age. You go into school. If you have the financial capabilities, please take your son or daughter out of these government-funded schools because it's only going to get worse before it gets better. They will stop at nothing to continue this poisoning. I consider this poisoning. I pulled my son out of school. My son has autism. I pulled him out of school very young because even in kindergarten, I could see what they were doing. And with Jason earlier, when he was talking about how the kids, they're hugging each other at the beginning of the day, that's beautiful. But it's what the curriculum what it's been changed to is what is so damaging to them. You just got to get your kid out of it. If you have it, do it. It's actually almost the same price to homeschool your kid. It really is.
I just want to say a big shout out to SoCo, Southern Comfort. Glad you're here, my friend. Glad to see you in the chat.
Hey, SoCo.
Real quick, White Hat said, this is in relation to our conversation about data harvesting, says that I took a poop and 5 minutes later a toilet paper ad appeared. I think that's a little tongue-in-cheek, but we get the idea. That's basically what they do.
We're not far from that, though. I mean, it seems that's what it does seem like. I mean,
yeah.
You go walk through a store now, and ads pop up on your phone, and you get home, and then you go on Facebook, and bam, there it is again.
Turn off your location, guys. Do not share your location with these data harvesting apps. Also, DJ Scratch D's said lasting changes take time to accomplish. Evidence, those who lose weight fast, more often than not, gain it back. That's very correct. Yeah. We need to, it's going to take time to unindoctrinate people in the same way that it took time to indoctrinate them. So let's see, back to the story here. Another parent's child FaceTimed them in the middle of the classroom to tell them how uncomfortable they were with the assignment. Another student had a friend who had recently shared very private information about themselves to a select number of their peers and went white when the teacher asked students to now stand and reveal their private identities. Now, when the students expressed discomfort, the teacher's response was to tell them it was all right because she used to be Catholic and now is a bisexual atheist.
Oh, there we go.
What is going on?
This is poisoning. This is witchcraft. This is what this is.
This is no good.
It's a nightmare.
You know, the problem with this is where do you go with this? Because the last thing I want is the federal government telling my local schools what they can and can't do, right? I mean, there has to be some regulations on it, but what the federal government needs to be doing is getting the heck out of the way of local school districts and allowing them to do things. But at the same time, there should be a best practices oversight committee of some kind in what's left of the Department of Education. I think they're trying to do the best they can to limit the influence that the Department of Education has. And I feel bad for Betsy DeVos because I know she's a good person at heart and trying to do the right thing, but she is up against, I mean, imagine what President Trump's against. I mean, she's got it even worse. I mean, she has every special interest going against any kind of change whatsoever. So I can't imagine what she's up against. But, you know, what do you, Thomas, what would you go with how do you solve this problem?
I don't know. You've got to, like, it's almost like the same thing with these big tech companies. You've got to break it down and then build it back up. That's what you have to do, you know, gradually. You've got to, are schools still broke? Are teachers still broke right now?
Well, I think that schools have money, but I think that teachers are not paid well. So people that ends up getting into teaching, they are people who have a strong desire to indoctrinate our children. So more often than not, that's democratic socialists, communists, essentially.
Yeah. I really want to get, you know, somebody we need to get on this channel, my channel, or Abe's channel. We need to get a teacher from a school on here because I've been out of school so long that I don't know, like, the curriculum and the form that they basically go in and out of. I would really like to just kind of like interview one of these teachers and be like, what are you doing? Do you feel guilty? You have to feel guilty?
On that note, I'm sure that you guys heard the story about the professor at an Arizona college who played Joe M's The Plan to Save the World for his class. Yes, and he was asked to get a psychological evaluation. He was put on leave. And he may even be completely removed from his position.
My hackles are on.
He is coming on the program next week. He will be here.
Awesome.
Professor
Please
Dean,
invite me on that. Please I have some. I have so many questions to ask this person. Jeez.
He's a really great guy. And I think that he's been put in a really tough situation because Professor Doug Belmore, I kept wanting to say boudoir, but that's not it. That's Belmore. Doug Belmore. Doug is a great guy. He's got a lot of experience watching the system and seeing how it's changed and gone further and further to the left, and how it's not okay to be conservative. It's not okay to have Christian values. It's not okay to be anything other than a globalist and a Trump hater. So Doug's going to be here next week, and we're going to talk about the way that the education system is set up, because that's the reason that they have so many of these leftists in the education system, is so that they can indoctrinate our children from a very young age and essentially prepare them to move out into the world. And then we've got basically communism here in the United States. We're very, very close right now. President Trump is the only reason we're not there yet.
Yeah, very true. And the thing that always happens is they end up trying to throw more money at the problem. And if you look at the funding, per child funding for schools, most of that funding comes from local taxes. Most of it comes from property taxes, and on average, most schools spend around $10,000 per kid per year, and some of the highest jurisdictions. Even in downtown Chicago, spend as much as 12,000 per kid. That money isn't getting to the kids, isn't getting to the teachers. It's not getting to where it should go. The overhead of the administrators and all of that stuff has become its own bureaucracy that is out of control. And it's the way that the unions work is against any kind of change, against any kind of improvement in the school system, which is an abomination of society, really, when it comes down to it. If you ask me how you solve this problem, step one, you end public sector unions in every single state. We've already seen that happen in Wisconsin. That's why I have a lot of respect for Governor Walker. We've seen that happen in Indiana. That's why I have a lot of respect for Mike Pence, because they set the trend on ending public sector unions and allowing people to opt out of the unions. You start there, you weaken the unions, and that over time people become more influential in what they're able to do. Number two, you end the monopoly that is the textbooks industry. The textbook industry also has gone through consolidation to the point that they control the information, they control history, they change history. We've seen that. Q pointed us to that, and so that's the second thing to do. The third thing you do is you get the federal government to have out of the bigger level of the school control. You basically destroy the Department of Education, and you create an oversight structure of best practices, and any school district in the country that doesn't meet certain standards, you allow the feds to come in and take over the school, take over the district, and bring accountability to the district. If you ask me, those three things put together would solve a lot of problems around the country and would start to bring accountability over time. You can't fix this problem quickly because there's two big problems. One, every single teacher that's out there has gone to a liberal education and is indoctrinated into the college systems that are controlled by China and controlled by over special interest overseas, like Qatar and other places. They're not controlled by best practices, by best information out there. So that's the first problem. Majority of teachers are controlled. Secondarily, any teacher that steps out of line is smacked down with the quickness and is either fired or gotten rid of or put into a job that means nothing to the point where they just leave. The other thing also, finally, is the pension system is being abused around the country. And I've seen that happen in Chicago and Illinois. The pension system is a giant disaster. People go from one government job to the next, to the next, to the next, and to the point where they're collecting pensions from 4 different jobs and becoming millionaires while they're sitting on their butts and they're 55 years old. All of these things will be addressed over time. I'm confident that they will be. But in the meantime, we're watching this disaster play out in front of us, and it's really hard to swallow for sure.
Just a couple of quick things. My friend Peapod in the chat did say that her brother's a teacher, and she wanted to make sure that we all knew that not all teachers are bad. I definitely, we definitely know that, and it's even more. It's just that they're few and far between. Unfortunately, the good ones. Like somebody else said that there was a particular leader of a European country from World War II who said that if we can teach the children, it'll only take one generation to change the minds of our population. So, and that's basically what they've been doing. So the more people that we have that are willing to teach the values of our country and our founding fathers, the more conservative values that our country was based on, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, we need those people in the teaching system. I would highly recommend anybody with those types of morals to go in and try to teach our kids. Also, Puggy's number 2 Frog said, wish I had a platform where I could express just how much you all mean to me and to so many. Thank you so much for all you do. Well, Puggy, thank you so much. I think that you did just express it on a platform. At least you have about 2,200 people that just saw you say that. So you can also go to Twitter, and I bet you, even though I don't use Facebook, I know that a lot of people do use Facebook, so maybe they're... But also, Tanette Booth says, racial or gender diversity rules have no place anywhere. Forcing people to pick groups to be in and labels are not okay. I completely agree. Somebody, Law Dog, from just said they're from Ann Arbor, and the University of Michigan now has PC police. That's the first I've heard of that, and that is absolutely incredible. Eminem, my good friend from down under, said, "Good day, Red Pill 78. Going on 2 p.m. I just woke because I'm sick. It's great to be here with you all, though." Thank you very much for that super chat, and thank you for being here.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I don't know if there's sports fans out there. I'm a huge sports fan. Actually, they're talking about they want all black athletes to now leave white schools. I think they were talking about Auburn University. I saw that today on the news. This is just more of the same. And plus, the NFL started up yesterday. No kneeling whatsoever.
Thank the Lord. Wonder how
nice
they
to
got
see.
that one done.
It was very nice to see. I saw Barstool Sports retweeted it. Barstool Sports definitely under a bunch of heat. He is actually called. His name's David Portnoy. Has actually called out AOC for a debate. Hilarious because he would smash her. And he's tweeted out yesterday both the teams, Green Bay Packers and whoever they played, definitely no kneeling, all locking arms and respecting our flag.
That was my Bears, who played one of the worst games I've seen them play in a long time. It was really hard to watch.
Oh dear, yeah. But no kneeling, none of that garbage, and But I did see in the college league, the NCAA, that yes, that they want to. They're promoting black athletes leave white schools.
Well,
so it's all over.
We'll see. We'll see what the enrollment at places like Brown jumps up to. I mean, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think that something tells me that's not going to be too successful.
No. It's just yapping.
Yeah, it is just yapping. All right. Well, listen, we got about 6 minutes left, and we got a couple more things. I think that the next thing we were going to talk about was the chance at exoneration for Michael Flynn. I think that this is an extremely important story. So, Abe, why don't you key it up for us?
Oops, I'm muted. It is a massive story, and the best part about this is it's not getting shoved under the rug. This story is become a national, if not a worldwide, massive story. And so when we think about the Great Awakening, we were asked a while back, I was asked a long time ago, do you think this is going to be like a Q drop, that we have a sudden Great Awakening happen? No. What's happening is the media is being forced to cover news like this, and people are going, there's something definitely here to this. And what's here to this is absolutely the biggest news story probably this year. I mean, it's just absolutely massive. And Sidney Powell's doing amazing work over there. When we had a chance to talk to her, you could tell that she really felt like her mind was going, like, she has to do something. She can't sit by and allow this injustice to happen. And so now that when she became General Flynn's lawyer, I was just, like a lot of people, just absolutely thrilled. So I have this thread here that I put together, and actually this one and another one, Methods actually tweeted out that blew up. This has the actual motion to compel in here. The motion to compel that's in this story is massive, because what it's doing, and I'll just, because there's really not a whole lot here, I just want to show you it in general, and then show you this as well. This is what I put together. Christopher Steele, remarkably, despite this involvement, Mr. Weissman and Miss Ahmad then went directly to the special counsel team, along with Stroke and possibly the second agent, thereby calling into question the entire investigation with their illicit involvement with Orr and Steele. Bruce Orr and Christopher Steele had previous knowledge of this information before any of this really started. How is that possible? What's actually in those OR 302s? What's actually in the classified information in those 302s? Were any 302s changed, deleted, thrown away, disappeared?
Memory hold.
Yeah, exactly. Closing the circle, Ahmad was co-counsel with Van Grack in the prosecution of Mr. Flynn. It is imperative the defense obtain the Bruce Orr 302s and notes, unredacted, and all the evidence of this circuitous and illicit operation. Case dismissed. If I am the lawyer in this case, by this question alone, I would dismiss the case. Why? Because the exculpatory evidence that has been kept away from General Flynn's counsel, that alone is a crime under current statute.
Brady.
that kept that information from the defense counsel is committing a crime that is punishable by some serious time. And so the way that this case is coming together, you have Sidney Powell asking for her security clearance to be changed. That's a Q proof because Q told us that was happening.
Yep.
You have the Bruce Orr 302s that want to be sought after. Why doesn't the defense counsel have this information already? They should have this information already. The fact that it is classified and is being kept away from the special counsel the counsel, as well as the judge, says that they don't have all the information in the case and they can't make a judgment on the case. And once this stuff comes out, once they get disclosure of Bruce Orr's 302s and that information is brought to the court, the prosecutors are going to be held accountable for their actions of hiding exculpatory evidence from the defense team and from the judge. It's a massive story.
That's right. It's a Brady violation. Absolutely incredible. And you know what the best part about it is that Andrew Weissman has a habit of Brady violations, of hiding exculpatory information from the defense in cases. If you'll remember, he was the prosecutor in charge of the entire Enron case. He destroyed an entire company. Billions just evaporated. People's pensions just completely disappeared. And what happened in the end? Every single person in that case, I think there was a couple of low-level process crimes, but the big dogs that were supposed to go down, they all got off because Andrew Weissman hid exculpatory information from them. And, you know, I think that the big takeaway from this is that Flynn knew that this is exactly what they were going to do. He set himself up as a sacrificial lamb. And we've been talking about this on the program for a long time. And now we are finally getting that confirmation that that's exactly what happened. And what is that behind me?
I was going to give you a chance to hop in there, True.
Oh, no, I was listening. No, I think he just pretty much threw it all out there. That was well said.
It's awesome. And the Brady violation that happens here is going to come out. And I for one want to see the next kind of move in this, because I think that's going to come sooner than later. I think we're going to start seeing this stuff happen kind of weekly. And as this information comes out, I seriously hope that we get as close as to an unredacted Bruce Orr 302 as we can get, because when that comes out and the fact that they were working together with prosecutors before any of this was even a thing is going to be absolutely a massive news story that's going to wake up a whole lot of people.
Most definitely. All right, you guys, I hate to do this, but we are at the end of the show. It is now the midnight hour, 12 o'clock. So, True Reporting, I'm going to ask you to give us your final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Great interview, Conscience Abe. This was really well done. It's always a pleasure to be on here. I just want justice. That's all I want. And I want to see these schools definitely switched up. I think it needs to be broken down and built back up to a respectable platform instead of indoctrinating kids into this brainwashing, hurting experiment.
Excellent. All right, Abe, thank you so much for being here, man. It was awesome having you ride shotgun this whole time. Brought some excellent, interesting stories, and I hope that more people will go ahead and check out your program and then also follow you to whatever you got going on in the future. Final thoughts?
Yeah, I appreciate you very much, dude. And I really had a lot of fun hanging out with you here tonight. And I hope we can do it again maybe once we do get a final announcement of what we're going to be doing next. I think it's either going to be I'm either going to do something where I do interviews on my channel and then bring them to a platform or something to that effect. I'm not quite sure yet, but it's going to be interesting. So keep an eye out for that. And thank you very much for doing what you can to unite the movement and bringing great people and great guests to your show. God bless you for that, and please keep doing that. So much love to you both. Thanks for having me here today on Red Pill 78. Much love.
All right, thank you to you guys, and then thank you to everybody in the audience. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. And peace out, guys.
All right. See you, man. Good to see you, Conscience Abe.